amid the remnants of a world once destroyed, where the flood swept away not only flesh, but also the very souls of humanity. In the bottomless abyss of the universe, where the faintest light meets the deepest darkness, hidden secrets await their revelation. There are unseen covenants and ancient laws engraved upon the soul of creation. But are they upheld or buried beneath the dust of time? What happens when mankind no longer recognizes its boundaries? When blood becomes an accusation against the ground upon which they dwell? In the intertwining of the sacred and the forbidden, these mysteries pose a haunting question. Who determines destiny? Righteous light or the shadows of sin? The answer, suspended between two realms, seems obscured by ambition, envy, and uncontrollable desires. And in that fleeting moment, will humanity remember that they are not masters but mere stewards of what has been entrusted to them? Welcome to Why the Book of Jubilees was banned Part 2. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the thrilling Part 3 coming soon. In the old days, when darkness and light intertwined in the ambiguity of creation, the story began. The earth, once teeming with life and innocence, became the stage for a supernatural tragedy cloaked in mystery. It was when the children of men multiplied, and the beauty of earthly daughters stirred even the heavens. In this divine upheaval, a fateful event occurred. The angels of God, once exalted and holy, cast their gaze upon the earth. During a destined festival of the year, they beheld the enchanting beauty of mortal women, a beauty that eclipsed even the celestial light. An uncontrollable desire ignited within them. Defying divine decree, they descended to earth, choosing wives from among those they desired. From this forbidden union came offspring, the giants, beings of grandeur and terror, endowed with extraordinary strength, yet heralding the fracture of cosmic order. These giants did not merely terrify mankind. They unraveled the fabric of nature itself. Their presence was a consuming fire, violating every sacred law. Lawlessness spread like a plague, corrupting not only humanity but also cattle, birds, wild beasts, and all creatures that moved upon the earth. The world was swept into a spiral of destruction. Men, driven by dark desires and ambitions, turned from righteousness. Beasts devoured one another, succumbing to primal instincts in a crumbling world. Every thought, every action, was steeped in evil, as darkness consumed the hearts and minds of all living things. From the heights of heaven, God gazed upon the earth. The sight was a living nightmare. All he had created was corrupted to its core. From man to plant, everything was engulfed in chaos and wickedness. His heart grieved, yet his justice could not allow this ruin to persist. He declared, "I will destroy man whom I have created and all flesh upon the earth." It was a severe pronouncement, a stark reminder that all things, even the patience of the Creator, have their limits. Yet, amidst the engulfing darkness, a glimmer of light remained. That light was Noah, the only one who found favor in God's eyes. In a world drowning in corruption, Noah stood as a beacon of faithfulness and righteousness. But even Noah, chosen to survive, could not escape witnessing the divine wrath unleashed upon the earth. God's judgment extended beyond mankind to the fallen angels who had defied him. With thunderous wrath, he stripped them of their dominion and bound them in the depths of darkness, where no light could reach. They were imprisoned eternally, awaiting the great day of judgment. But God's decree did not end there. He commanded the destruction of their offspring, the giants, aberrations of power, and depravity. A heavenly command descended. They were to be struck down by the sword, wiped from existence. Their blood would stain the earth, and their names would vanish from human memory. God proclaimed, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. This decree limited human life and severed the fragile connection between man and the divine. The world descended into madness as men turned on one another. Swords clashed endlessly. Blood flowed without cease. Lives were taken in a relentless slaughter until the earth itself was cleansed by the destruction mankind had sown. Once proud of their lineage, the patriarchs of the giants could only watch as all they had built crumbled to dust. Their colossal offspring, symbols of strength and dominion, were utterly destroyed. The fallen angels, bound in eternal darkness, could only await the day of ultimate justice. None, not a single soul, could escape God's judgment. Yet God did not only destroy, He recreated. From chaos and corruption, He fashioned a new nature for His works, a world free from sin, where all creatures would live in righteousness. All were inscribed on the heavenly tablets. Every judgment, every destiny, every deed set forth immutably. Nothing, whether light or darkness, escapes the gaze of the Creator. He judges the great by their greatness, the small by their smallness, and each by the path they have chosen. God does not take bribes or show partiality. No gift, no matter how grand, can sway His justice. He is the righteous judge, and all angels, giants, and men are accountable before Him, on earth, in the abyss, in light or darkness. No place escapes His judgment. This is the absolute truth, the tale not only of ancient days, but a timeless reminder for us all. That year, the heavens hung heavy with a curse, and the earth trembled beneath the irresistible wrath of God. History will never forget the day when the windows of heaven were opened, 7 in total, pouring down torrents of water as never before. At the same time, the fountains of the deep erupted with colossal columns of underground water. The world, once brimming with life, was now engulfed in darkness and the devastation of an unprecedented flood. Yet before this cataclysm, the story was already written, a tale of righteousness, redemption, and terror that humanity could never forget. It is said that God, in His righteousness, always left a path of return for those willing to forsake sin. For the children of Israel, it was written that if they turned back in uprightness and abandoned their transgressions, He would forgive. Once a year, this grace was granted, a promise of mercy, but only to the truly repentant. However, for those who had corrupted their ways before the flood, there was no path to salvation, only destruction. Among all mankind, only Noah was found acceptable in the eyes of God. He alone upheld righteousness, obeying all that was commanded of him without straying even once. Because of him, his sons and humanity itself were granted a chance to sue. God spoke, His voice like thunder across the skies. I will destroy all living things on the earth, man, beasts, birds of the air, and all that moves upon the ground. He commanded Noah to build an ark, a structure that would stand as a beacon of hope amidst the coming storm. Without hesitation, Noah began his task. In the 27th Jubilee, during the 5th year of the 5th week, he started constructing the ark. Each plank, nail, and structure was fashioned precisely according to God's instructions. The work continued until the following year, when, in the 2nd month, on the new moon, the ark was completed. Thus began the final days of the old world. On the 17th day, under the cover of darkness, God Himself shut the door of the ark. The destruction was ready. From the highest heavens, 7 windows opened, and mighty waterfalls poured forth without ceasing for 40 days and 40 nights. From the earth below, 7 fountains of the deep burst forth, as though the heart of the earth was being torn apart. The waters rose, consuming everything, even the tallest mountains. once symbols of greatness and permanence, were submerged, with the waters reaching 15 cubits above their peaks. The ark was lifted from the ground, drifting upon the violent waters, the only fortress of life in an endless ocean. Time passed. For 150 days, the waters prevailed over the earth with no sign of receding. The ark, like a ghostly sentinel, drifted aimlessly until it finally came to rest upon Mount Luber, one of the peaks of Ararat. Though the world below had been entirely submerged, signs of renewal emerged. By the 4th month, the fountains of the deep were closed. The floodgates of heaven, which had unleashed their torrents, were stopped. Gradually, the waters began to recede, revealing the earth's contours once more. By the 10th month, the first mountain peaks emerged from the waters. Yet it was not until the 1st month of the following year that the sun's rays fell upon dry land. The floodwaters receded entirely, leaving behind a world silent and barren. No birds sang, no humans walked the earth, only an eerie stillness, as if creation sighed in relief after enduring a nightmare. On the 17th day of the 2nd month, the ground finally dried completely. But this was not anything. It was the beginning of a new chapter. God, in His mercy and justice, opened the ark's door. The creatures that had journeyed through the storm with Noah emerged, step by step, onto the renewed earth. Birds took to the skies, livestock roamed the damp meadows, and all living things began exploring their new world. They stepped forth not only into a new life, but with a solemn promise, a covenant that the earth would never again be subjected to such a flood. Yet it was also a reminder that God is the righteous judge, that no thought or action escapes His gaze. Everything, from the highest heavens to the darkest depths, remains under His dominion, and every judgment is written beforehand. This story is not merely an ancient tale, but a haunting lesson on the fragility of mankind before the might of the Creator. Let it be remembered like an unquenchable flame in the memory of humanity. For when darkness falls once more, and the windows of heaven open again, will we have any refuge to which we can flee? On the new moon of the 3rd month, a sacred moment marked the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. On the mountain where the ark had come to rest, Noah stepped out, his feet touching the dry ground after endless days adrift upon the vast waters. The air, heavy with the echoes of the flood's judgment, carried the weight of divine retribution, but also the promise of renewal. On this cleansed earth, purified by the wrath of God, Noah built an altar, and through ancient rituals, he began the act of atonement for the entire world. Noah chose a young goat, symbolizing innocence, as the first offering. Its blood flowed onto the ground, mingling with the soil as a plea for forgiveness for the sins that had destroyed the earth. Every drop, every motion of the ritual bore profound meaning, an atonement not only for mankind but for all of creation. The fat of the sacrifice was placed on the altar, followed by a bull, another goat, a lamb, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon, all prepared with salt, oil, wine, and frankincense to create a fragrant aroma that ascended to the heavens. That aroma, as the account tells, was pleasing to God, a sign that He had heard Noah's plea. In that sacred moment, a new covenant was established. God declared that never again would a flood destroy the earth. He promised that day and night, summer and winter, seed time and harvest would continue unceasingly, never to be disrupted. This promise was not only for Noah but for all humanity. Commitment that the earth, no matter how great its sin, would not be utterly destroyed again. God gave Noah and his descendants a charge: be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. You shall be a blessing to the world, and I will instill fear of you in all creatures on land, in the sea, and under the heavens. God continued to lay down laws, one of which would form the foundation of his relationship with mankind. He granted humanity dominion over all animals and plants for food, but with one condition: they must not consume blood, for the blood is life. He emphasized that anyone who sheds human blood will have their blood required. This law, tied to the sacred image of humanity created in the likeness of God, was not only a commandment but a warning that life is holy and must not be taken lightly. Noah and his sons, with reverence, swore before God never to consume blood, establishing this covenant to be passed down through all generations. The third month was chosen as the sacred time for this covenant, and an annual ritual was decreed so that the descendants of Israel would remember it forever. They were to sprinkle blood on the altar and seek forgiveness. Anyone who violated this covenant, consuming the blood of animals or livestock, would be cut off from the earth. This strict command not only safeguarded life but ensured that their name and lineage would remain honored by God for all time. As a sign of his eternal promise, God set his bow in the clouds. The rainbow, a symbol of the everlasting covenant, appeared as a reminder that the flood would never return. Its vibrant colors did more than adorn the sky after the rain. They carried profound meaning, a divine promise inscribed on the heavenly tablets, affirming that the earth would endure and God's covenant with humanity would never be broken. The Festival of Weeks, an ancient ceremony, was appointed to commemorate this covenant. It was first observed at the time of creation and continued through the generations until the days of Noah, 7 Jubilees and 1 week of years. Noah and his descendants upheld this festival. After Noah's death, however, gradually faded from memory. In the days of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the festival was revived, only to be forgotten again by the children of Israel. It was not until Moses stood on the holy mountain and received God's command that this festival was formally reinstated, becoming a cornerstone of their sacred heritage. Each year, in the third month, the children of Israel were commanded to observe this festival for a single day to renew their covenant with God. In its rituals, blood was sprinkled on the altar, prayers were offered, and forgiveness was sought for all sins. The festival was not merely a religious event, but a profound reminder of the eternal bond between humanity and God, of the covenant of blood established in the days of Noah. This covenant, with all its laws, rituals, and symbols, shaped the relationship between mankind and God while delivering a powerful message about responsibility and reverence. Life is sacred, blood is the soul, and every human action carries deep meaning within his divine plan. As the rainbow in the sky reminds us of his promise, God's covenant remains alive, transcending time to illuminate humanity in the shadows of forgetfulness. In the dim shadows of ancient times, when covenants between heaven and earth were etched upon the heavenly tablets, the Festival of Weeks emerged as a sacred ritual with dual significance. It was designated as an eternal reminder of the harmony between humanity and God. These were the days when each season, each phase of the year, and every cycle bore profound meaning, binding mankind to its divine origin and the order of the universe. The instructions were recorded from the very beginning on the heavenly tablets and in the first book of the law. You shall observe this festival at its appointed time, one day in the year. The third month, chosen by the Creator himself, became the sacred marker for commemorating this covenant. Yet, the Festival of Weeks was more than a ritual. It was entwined with the mystical history of Noah, the sole survivor of the Great Flood, who witnessed the earth reborn from the ashes of destruction. The first new moon of the third month marked the moment when Noah stepped out of the ark, beheld dry land, and offered the first atoning sacrifice to God. Other festival days held their mystical significance. The new moon of the fourth month was the day the fountains of the deep beneath the earth, which had erupted during the flood, were finally closed. The new moon of the 7th month marked the receding of the waters into the deep, restoring the earth's form. The new moon of the 10th month heralded the first sight of mountain peaks rising above the waters, bringing Noah joy and renewed hope. These days were not only historical events, but were chosen by Noah as perpetual days of remembrance inscribed on the heavenly tablets. The Festival of Weeks extended beyond these events. It was ordained with precise calculation, each year consisting of 364 days divided into 4 parts of 13 weeks each, from one week to the next, from one season to another. Everything adhered to perfect order. This sacred calendar ensured that humanity maintained the integrity of the festival days while preserving the harmony of the universe. The completion of the 364-day year was inscribed on the heavenly tablets as an immutable testament, and this law was never to be violated, not even for a single year. Yet, as a warning shrouded in the shadows, Noah foresaw a time when humanity would forget these sacred ordinances. He knew that after his death, his descendants would fail to preserve the order of the festivals. They would forget the new moons, the seasons, and the Sabbaths. They would be drawn into the errors of the nations who worshipped the moon cycles, disrupting the divine order. He foresaw that some would fix their gaze upon the moon, mistaking it as the center of time, leading to errors in calculating years. The moon's appearance, 10 days earlier than the previous year, would disarrange the seasons and festivals, turning holy days into unclean ones and vice versa. The vision Noah beheld was dire, a world where mankind no longer distinguished sacred festivals from ordinary days, where months and Sabbaths were forgotten, and holy days were corrupted into profane celebrations. This forgetfulness would not merely be a mistake, but a breaking of the covenant, a betrayal of the Creator. In the future, Noah foresaw chaos would spread, leading humanity astray into the rituals and festivals of the nations, abandoning the divine order set for them. Yet Noah did not only foresee error. He was given a divine command to warn his descendants, to keep them from falling into these snares. God decreed that they must follow an exact calendar, never altering or neglecting the appointed days. He warned that if they disobeyed this command, they would disrupt the order of years and be uprooted from the earth. This warning, like an enigmatic curse, was etched into the heavenly tablets so that no one could claim ignorance. To safeguard the sacred covenant, Noah decreed that the children of Israel must observe these festival days for all generations. Each year, they were to offer sacrifices to God, seek forgiveness, and renew their covenant. These festivals were not merely to commemorate past events, but to maintain their connection with God, reminding humanity that they are part of an eternal plan. Still, Noah knew the future would be fraught with challenges. The error would creep in like a specter, leading humanity astray. He knew that there would be years when his descendants disrupted everything, new moons forgotten, Sabbaths unkept, and holy days transformed. He knew they would consume blood with flesh, violating the laws established in his time. Yet he also believed that no matter what, the covenant with God would endure, like the inscriptions on the heavenly tablets. Thus, the Festival of Weeks, with all its mysteries, warnings, and sanctity, became an indispensable part of humanity's story. These holy days, etched into the heavenly tablets and Noah's memory, remain a reminder that order, harmony, and the covenant with God are unbreakable. In a world of chaos and error, these rituals are guiding lights, ensuring that humanity never forgets its origins and purpose. And even when darkness prevails, these festivals endure a testament that amid all disorder, the order and light of God remain steadfast and eternal. On the slopes of Mount Ararat, where Noah's Ark had once rested during the Great Flood, a new story began, shrouded in mystery and awe. In the 7th week of the first year after the flood, Noah planted vineyards on the summit of Mount Liber. This was not merely an act of cultivation, but a symbol of renewal, as though he was embedding a promise for the future into the earth itself. The vines, nurtured with care, bore fruit in the 4th year. By the 5th year, on the first new moon of the first month, Noah harvested the grapes, pressed wine, and preserved it for a sacred celebration. The appointed day arrived, and Noah, with profound reverence, prepared a burnt offering. He offered the Lord a young bull, a ram, 7 lambs, and a young goat. Every ritual step was carried out with precision and solemnity, weaving a prayer through each action. He sprinkled the goat's blood upon the altar, burned its fat, and placed the other offerings, blended with oil, wine, and incense. As the fire roared upon the altar, the fragrance ascended to heaven, a silent supplication that the Lord accepted. It was a day of joy and reunion. After the ceremony, Noah drank the wine and shared his joy with his sons. Yet, as with all mysterious tales, joy carried the seeds of tragedy. As night fell, Noah, overcome with wine, lay asleep in his tent, uncovered. Ham, the youngest son, entered and saw his father's nakedness. Instead of covering his father, he went outside and informed his brothers, Shem and Japheth. This seemingly simple act became the source of an enduring curse. Shem and Japheth, showing respect for their father, took a garment, placed it over their shoulders, walked backward into the tent, and covered their father without looking upon his nakedness. When Noah awoke and learned what had happened, he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham. Cursed be Canaan, he shall be a servant of servants to his brothers. But Noah also blessed Shem and Japheth, proclaiming that the Lord would dwell in Shem's house and that Japheth would be enlarged. This curse was not merely a moment of anger, but became a divine decree, shaping the destinies of future generations. Ham, filled with anger and frustration, left with his sons, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, beginning a new chapter apart from his father. Ham built a city and named it after his wife, Neeladamiah, as though seeking to sever himself from the curse. Meanwhile, Japheth, envious of his brother's city, constructed his own and named it after his wife, Adataneses. Shem, the blessed son, chose to remain near his father on Mount Liber, building a city named after his wife, Sedeketobab. These 3 cities, like enigmatic jewels, lay scattered around Mount Liber. Shem's city, Sedeketobab, stood to the east, where the first light of dawn touched the earth. Ham's city, Niltamike, was situated in the south, basking in the midday sun's warmth. Japheth's city, Adataneses, rested in the west, cloaked in the golden hues of twilight. Each city carried its own story, a testament to the lives of those who rebuilt after the destruction. From these beginnings, Noah's lineage grew. Shem, bearing the blessing of the Lord, fathered sons Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. Among them, Arpachshad, born 2 years after the flood, stood as a symbol of continuity and hope. Japheth, blessed with expansion, fathered Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. They became the progenitors of many nations, spreading across the earth. Ham, burdened by the shadow of the curse, also left a legacy: Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, names that would later be etched into the mystical history of the world. Yet, beyond the names and cities, there lay a complex tapestry of ambition, envy, and the consequences of disobedience. The 3 cities around Mount Liber were not only symbols of rebirth, but also evidence of the tensions and conflicts among the 3 lineages. Noah's curse on Canaan created rifts that could never be mended. leading to divergent paths and enduring rivalries. The story of Noah and his sons does not end with these mystical events. It is a blend of hope and renewal and a cautionary tale about the consequences of actions, no matter how seemingly insignificant. On Mount Liber, once a refuge from the flood, a new chapter for humanity was written, a chapter filled with mystery, gravity, and significance, marking the beginning of intertwined destinies and nations. On the tranquil hills that once bore witness to great destruction, Noah, in the twilight of his years, began to impart a sacred legacy. He was not merely a survivor of the Great Flood, but a bridge between God's ancient decrees and the uncertain future of humanity. In the 20th Jubilee, Noah summoned his descendants, including the sons of his sons, to deliver his final teachings. In a solemn atmosphere, he urged them to live in righteousness, shun evil, and uphold the covenant with their Creator. Cover the shame of your flesh, he began, his eyes seeming to pierce through time. Bless your Creator, honor your parents, love your neighbors, and guard your souls against sins like fornication, impurity, and wickedness. These words were not mere advice but a warning, for Noah knew better than anyone that the previous destruction was no accident. It was because of these things that the flood came upon the earth. The watchers defied divine decrees, sinned with the daughters of men, and bore the Nephilim, giants of chaos, devouring one another and saturating the earth with blood and wickedness. His voice grew heavy as he recounted the dark days before the flood when not only humanity but beasts and birds sinned. Blood was spilled across the earth, and every imagination of man's heart was inclined toward evil. It was a time when darkness enveloped all, leaving God no choice but to wipe out all life. Yet now, as he stood among his children and grandchildren, Noah recognized the signs of falling again. He looked at them, his voice laden with concern. I see that you have already begun to walk the path of destruction. You are divided, envious, and do not live in harmony with one another. His words cast a heavy silence over the gathering. Demons, he continued, have already begun to seduce you and your children. I fear that after my death, you will spill the blood of man on the earth and be destroyed as those who came before you. Noah spoke not only of the future but painted a grim vision of shadow and terror. Souls cast into the abyss, devoid of light and forgiveness. Whoever sheds the blood of man or consumes the blood of any flesh shall be cut off from the earth. The land cannot be cleansed of the blood spilled upon it, except the blood of the one who spilled it. These warnings reverberated like a solemn echo, underscoring the gravity of humanity's covenant with God. Do good for your souls, he urged, by covering the blood you spill. Let not the blood, which is life, become a witness against you. This was not only a command but a plea from a father who desired his descendants to live in righteousness and preserve their divine inheritance. However, Noah did not only issue warnings, he offered practical guidance to help his descendants build a sustainable future. Build cities for yourselves. Plant fields with crops and fruit trees. For the first 3 years, do not harvest the fruit. In the 4th year, the fruit shall be consecrated to God as a first-fruit offering. What remains shall be for the servants of the Lord's house. In the 5th year, you may consume the fruit for yourselves. His instructions were not solely about avoiding punishment, but also about attaining prosperity and blessing. Sow righteousness across the earth, he urged. When you walk upright, all your plant will flourish, and your glory will be exalted before the Lord. In his final moments, Noah recounted a legacy passed down through generations, from Enoch, the first patriarch, to Methuselah, to Lamech, and now to himself. Enoch, the 7th in his generation, had delivered these decrees and testimonies to his children before departing. Now, Noah carried on that tradition. ensuring that his lineage would not forget what had been inscribed from the beginning of creation. Noah's story is not merely one of destruction and renewal, but a reminder of the sacred responsibility borne by each generation. In every teaching, every warning, and every blessing, he left his descendants a legacy both mysterious and challenging. On the foundation of ancient decrees, he laid the groundwork for a future where righteousness and the covenant with God would serve as humanity's guiding light, even when darkness threatened to prevail. In the shadowed years following the Great Flood, a new era began, woven with sacred promises and seductive mysteries. In the 29th Jubilee, during the first week of the year 1373 AM, Arpachshad, grandson of Noah, married Rezuaja, the daughter of Susan and granddaughter of Elam. This union was not merely the joining of two individuals, but a prophetic signal of events to come, upheavals that would shape generations. Just 2 years later, at 1375 AM, their first son was born. He was named Kainom, a name that would become central to tales both mysterious and foreboding. Kainom grew up in a family rooted in the decrees and laws of Noah, yet he was no ordinary child. With a keen intellect and insatiable curiosity, Kainom delved into realms beyond the ordinary. During a journey to find land for his city, he stumbled upon an ancient inscription etched into stone. These were not mere words but secrets from the era of the Watchers, fallen beings who had wrought chaos before the flood. Within these inscriptions, Kainom discovered instructions for observing omens in the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. He transcribed what he read but, fearing Noah's wrath, kept his discovery a secret. As time passed, Kainom's actions seemed to fade into obscurity, yet the seeds he sowed took root in hidden places. By the 30th Jubilee, Kainom married Melka, the daughter of Madai and granddaughter of Japheth. For years later, at 1432 AM, they welcomed a son named Shelah. His name carried profound meaning. Indeed, I have been sent, as though his arrival bore a divine reminder of the mission entrusted to his generation. Shelah grew and embarked on his journey. He married Mueke, the daughter of Kest, his father's brother, at 1503 AM. During the 5th week of the 31st Jubilee, Mueke gave birth to a son named Eber. From Eber, a new lineage emerged, intertwining myth and history. Yet the shadows of the past never fully loosened their grip, and each generation bore the traces of buried secrets. In the 32nd Jubilee, Eber married Azurat, the daughter of Nimrod. At 1567 AM, she gave birth to Peleg. His name carried particular significance: division. For it was during his lifetime that Noah's descendants began secretly dividing the earth into 3 parts before presenting their plans to Noah. The 33rd Jubilee, at the dawn of 1569 AM, marked a pivotal moment. Noah summoned his sons and their descendants to officially divide the land among the lines of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. In a ceremony steeped in ritual, Noah raised a document detailing each son's inheritance. She was given the central portion of the earth, stretching from the mountains of Rapha through the river Tina to the great western sea. This territory encompassed regions near the Garden of Eden, imbued with mystery and sanctity. Everything to the north belonged to Japheth, while the southern lands became Ham's inheritance. These boundaries were not merely territorial divisions, but reminders of the sacred covenant binding generations. Shem's land extended along the coastline, encompassing key waterways from the river Tina to the Sea of Miat and the Great Sea. Its southern expanse reached the waters of the River Gan, encircling regions once regarded as the center of the world. Japheth's portion expanded northward into vast and frigid territories, while Ham's inheritance lay to the south, encompassing tropical regions and winding rivers. This division, however, was not merely geographical. It bore signs of future conflict and strife. Each lineage, carrying the blessings and curses of their ancestors, embarked on its journey across the lands apportioned to them. Yet the secrets uncovered by Kainom, alongside the sins of the Watchers, had not been fully erased. The specters of the past, along with forbidden knowledge, continued to influence each generation. The story of Noah and his sons did not end with the division of land. It marked the beginning of a new world, where every step was illuminated by the divine covenant but haunted by remnants of chaos. Along the rivers and lands they inhabited, succeeding generations would carve their own stories, tales interwoven with light and shadow, life and death, promise and curse. In the dawn of a new world, as Noah's descendants prepared to shape the future from the legacy left to them, the earth was divided into 3 parts, each carrying blessings and the shadowy mysteries of destiny. The land apportioned to Shem was the first to be chosen, determined by lot according to the will of God, becoming an eternal inheritance for his lineage. Upon seeing this land, Noah felt a profound joy within him. "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem," he declared, a prophecy echoing through the generations. "May God dwell in the tents of Shem." The land given to Shem was vast and imbued with divine sanctity. It encompassed the Garden of Eden, the holy dwelling place of God. Eden, regarded as the center of creation, stood in sacred alignment with 2 other holy sites, Mount Sinai, amidst the boundless desert, and Mount Zion, considered the navel of the earth. These 3 places, linked through ancient myths and divine mysteries, became enduring symbols of the harmony between heaven and earth. Shem's territory stretched across fertile and prosperous lands. The entirety of Eden and the Red Sea fell under his domain, along with extensive regions from the east to India, through the mountains of Lebanon and Bashan, and even the distant islands of Kaftor, majestic peaks in the north, such as Sanur, Amana, and Ashur, were also part of this inheritance. This was not just a large expanse of territory, but one filled with abundant natural gifts, from forests to seas, blessed by God. The second portion was allocated to Ham, extending south of the Gin River, through volcanic ranges, and spreading to the Sea of Adal. Ham's land was searingly hot but wild and untamed in its beauty, from the shores of Mayuke to the Gin River. Ham and his descendants would possess this territory forever. Yet the land's harsh and unyielding climate seemed to reflect the lingering curse from Noah's time, a mark that would endure in Ham's lineage. Lastly, the third portion was assigned to Japheth, north of the Tina River. This vast land stretched from the northeast to the icy regions of Gog, where the frozen Celt mountains rose like silent giants. From the Sea of Mayuke to the Sea of Miat, Japheth's portion encompassed 5 great islands and an expansive northern territory. Though cold and challenging, Japheth's land offered immense opportunities for expansion and growth. Snow-capped peaks and frigid coastlines created a landscape full of trials, yet brimming with potential for his descendants. The differences between these 3 portions were not merely in size and boundaries, but also in climate and cultural destiny. Shem's land, neither too hot nor too cold, symbolized a perfect balance, a representation of harmony. Ham's land, marked by scorching heat, mirrored the trials and tribulations defining his lineage. Japheth's territory, with its icy expanses, reflected resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. As Noah surveyed the 3 portions, he recognized that this division was not his decision alone, but a divine ordinance from God. He praised the Lord, who had placed prophetic words in his mouth, proclaiming that each portion would carry blessings or challenges depending on how his descendants lived and upheld the covenant. Shem's land, the most sacred, would become the center of worship and the covenant with God. Ham would face hardships but could rise above them to build. Japheth, in his expansion, would need to maintain harmony and connection with the other lineages. However, these prophecies and divisions were not merely tales of land distribution. They concealed the secrets of generations past, the sins of the Watchers, and the events buried beneath the Great Flood. The lands, though vast and rich, bore the marks of past transgressions. From the Garden of Eden to the mountains of Ararat, each region told a story, a reminder that righteousness is the only way to preserve the blessings God has bestowed. Looking to the future, Noah knew that these prophecies and divisions would lay the foundation for human history. The lineages arising from the three portions would not only grow but also face destiny's trials. Though the earth was divided equally, harmony among its inhabitants was not guaranteed. Boundaries, though divinely ordained, would not prevent disputes, ambition, or the lingering shadows of the past. In Noah's eyes, filled with solemn reflection, he seemed to glimpse what lay ahead, a world where light and darkness would constantly struggle, where blessings and curses would forever intertwine. Amid the veiled mists of time, the Book of Jubilees paints a haunting portrait of humanity's fate, a world torn apart by wickedness yet shaped by sacred covenants. From the blood spilled during the Great Flood to the faint light upon the peaks of Ararat, this narrative is not merely history but a chilling reminder of the cost of misguided choices. Noah, the lone survivor of the storm of destruction, foresaw the eventual decline of his descendants. He passed on an ominous warning: greed, envy, and division would again open the door for darkness to return. His curse upon Ham, the division of lands among his three sons, and Cain's enigmatic silence regarding the forbidden knowledge he unearthed, all stand as pieces of an inevitable tragedy. The echoes of the Watchers and their transgressions seem to persist, lingering over humanity with an unrelenting shadow through every generation. Yet amidst the curses and warnings, a fragile thread of hope endures. The land of Shem, where the Garden of Eden once stood, symbolizes a righteous path, a place where the balance of light and darkness leaves room for redemption. Noah taught that land, blessings, and life could only be preserved if humanity walked in righteousness, halting the cycle of greed and bloodshed. The darkness of the past still looms, but it serves as a stark warning. Without learning from the errors of their ancestors, humanity is doomed to repeat the same tragedies, a perpetual cycle with no escape, where light remains but a distant and elusive dream. Please subscribe to our channel to enjoy more captivating Bible stories from us.